Richard's going to come up and he's going to share his experience, strength, and hope with us. Oh, never mind. I take all that back. Who?
I love you.
I
love you, girl.
Okay. Alex, would you like, or is it Alex?
Taylor.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Hi. Listen, my teleprompter is really broken. I'm going to go have a seat while Taylor comes up here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not Richard. Yeah, so our speaker tonight is going to be Richard, and he asked me to introduce him. He has been my friend for almost a decade. Me and him have been in the trenches together, been homeless together, been in jail 3-4 times together. And honestly, I can tell you at one point, I didn't ever think he would be where he's at right now. I didn't think me or him, either one of us would be here. I'd probably be dead in a ditch somewhere, to be honest with you. I've had to carry this man to the hospital over my shoulder. Narcan him 7 times. He's died more times than I can count. So when I say that because he's still here and he's still here for a reason. And I think that his reason is to be up here, to share his story, because his story is pretty powerful. I was gonna write something to say about him, but there's no words to describe what he's done for me in my sobriety. He's not only my friend, but he's also my sponsor. And that's really rare to find somebody that has been there with you as a friend, who's never stolen from you, even though, we've been through all that, all the drugs and shit. But someone that got clean and inspired me to get clean as well. So, without further ado, Richard.
Hey y'all, hey! So I got this call Wednesday night from Heather to do this, and I was more than honored. I came here a year ago with 5 months clean, and this place is magical, like Alex says. The beauty up here, everything. The people I've met. I rode up here with Chris and Deirdre, and then me, Sarah, and Deirdre went down to the lake and laid out on the dock, and just had an experience that I can't describe. This place holds a special place in my heart, and I got all in my head because I didn't want to let y'all down and everything. But I'm honored to be up here. My name's Richard, and I'm an addict. I was born January 22nd, 1986 in El Paso, Texas. We shortly moved to Arizona shortly after that. I call David, he's my biological sperm donor. He's not a father figure. I'm okay with that. So I was my mother's 2nd child, and I was David's 5th child. And my mother went on to have 2 more kids, and then a 5th one later on in life. And David went on to have 5 more kids with 3 wives. So from a very early age, I was cast in a shadow of my older brother and my younger brother, because I was a mama's boy. You could look at old Christmas photos or old photos, and it'd be David on one side, my mother on one side, and it was Chris and Devin, me and Brittany. And that was the dynamic growing up my entire life. At age 2, my mother tells me this story. She loves to tell me this story. I didn't take naps or anything like that. I was a mama's boy. I did a lot of cooking, cleaning, learned how to cross stitch. I'm just some shit. But my mom came in, and I was coloring or something, and she was like, "Richie," and I didn't respond. She's like, "Richie." Started getting louder, started getting closer. "Richie." And then she was right up on me, and I still wanted to respond. And so they ran me to the hospital immediately, and I was deaf. I lost my hearing. And that was later on in life, that affected me a lot, because I went through tubes 5 different times. I was in and out of the hospital. So at age 5, I knew there was something different. I wasn't like other people. Around the same time, Matt and Raymond, two of our next door neighbors, started sexually assaulting and molesting me, and I didn't know what was going on. I was a child. And that continued for 2 years, like from age 5 to age 7, when we finally moved to Georgia. And the move to Georgia really fucked me up because I didn't understand what was going on. Our household had my aunt, who was 17 years older than my mom, and had cerebral palsy, so she lived with us. And then my granddad was in a nursing home. My mother's mother had passed away when I was 2. So this whole move to Georgia was to be introduced to David's family, so that we would be around family to grow up and everything. We moved out here, got introduced to this big old family. David's one of 15 kids. I got an aunt who's maybe a couple months younger than me. So we were excited to have this happen. And we get here, and it didn't work out. David went on to sleep with some woman at work and left my mom. And I remember that day because David had nothing to do with me. I fought for his attention, for his approval, for everything. And he came and picked me up from school when I was in 3rd grade. And he took me to Fieldale in Gainesville. And I didn't know what was going on. Like, this is the first time I've ever had an interaction with David. And I'm puzzled, I'm confused. And he hangs out with me all night and everything. And on the drive home, he's telling me that him and my mother are about to get a divorce. And that I need to be the glue that holds this family together. And for a 9-year-old child, that is a lot to take on. That is a burden that you shouldn't put on any child. And I didn't know how to handle it. And so I started withdrawing. I started acting out. And my mom met this guy who I call Dad today, and they got married. They had a kid. During this time, I'm doing everything. I'm in sports. I swim. I do acting class. I'm doing dancing. I'm in a cotillion club. I'm very active. But I don't have any type of social life. At age 5, I started peeing the bed and everything, and that carried on with me till I was probably late middle school. So I was always scared to go spend the night at anybody's house, anything like that. The one time I went and spent the night at a spend-away camp, I had an accident, and I spent the entire night freaking out, trying to hide and everything. So I was constantly gripped in a life of fear. I didn't have a lot of friends in middle school. During this time, we kept moving. I've lived in Alabama. I was never out of school more than 2 years. But my freshman year was a pivotal moment in my life. My most cherished childhood memory is with my mom. She worked at a radio station, and every year on my birthday, on the way to school, Alan and Tim would announce my birthday, say happy birthday to me. My mother would come pick me up from school and take me to Red Lobster. We'd have popcorn shrimp and virgin strawberry daiquiris, and I fucking loved it. That was it for me. I had a bond with my mother that I can't describe. And my freshman year, I come home and David is parked in the driveway, and I'm confused. And I get out I walk in and they're like, pack your stuff. And I said, why? They said, you're going to live with David. And it broke my heart. And as I'm getting in the truck, I look at my mother, and she turned away. And I never felt more abandoned in my life. And I was broken. I was terrified to live with David. When I was 12 years old, my brother and him loved fishing. We're out on Lake Lanier, and there was a bunch of us playing around. My brother was fishing, and we get home, we get back to the apartment, and Chris proceeds to tell David that I made him lose the fish. And David went ballistic. He took me upstairs, took his belt off, and started beating me. I mean, this is not a spanking. I mean, beating me. He threw me down the flight of stairs Had Letitia, my stepmom, not stepped in, like, I don't know what would happen. David was very physically abusive when he got out of hand. When we moved to Georgia and I told him about what was going on in Arizona, he made me feel like it was my fault. Living with him, he always put me down, like, oh, you're never going to be like your brothers. You're never going to be like your brothers. You're going to be the first kid I come see in jail. You're going to be the first, like, you're not going to amount to anything. Like, I grew up like this, and like, it instilled this fear that I would never be good enough, ever. And that wasn't just at David's, it was going on at home too. When my mom got remarried, we had a Brady Bunch. Her second husband came with 3 kids, and we had 4 kids, and then they had another one. So I'm living in a house with so many people, like I said, I felt like I lived in a shadow. I acted out in school to get attention. I got blamed for almost everything that went on in that house. And like, I didn't know how to take it. So, but when I moved in with David, something happened. I started developing a social life, and it's because of drugs. Like, so I did not like living at David's. My stepmom was emotionally and mentally abusive. She used to tell me, like, anybody who would come over, she would tell them, oh, don't worry about him, that's Gordo Hoto. She was Mexican, and that means a fat faggot. And so, like, this was an everyday thing. You know, growing up, I put metro and metrosexual before it was ever termed, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I was, that's just my personality, like, I don't know, like, I can't explain it, I've always been like that. I still get, you know, people still question it today, like, it's cool. I'm cool with it now, but like back then, I just couldn't handle it. You know, I was ridiculed with it. But I went over to this guy's house, and I did drugs for the first time. I'd heard about it in middle school, but I didn't go to parties. I didn't know about it. I just heard of it, you know, dare, like, okay. So I go over, I'm excited, like, I'm hanging out with somebody outside, and like, this is so cool. Like, we're about to do some drugs. Like, I don't know what's going on, but this is so cool. So we smoke a joint. He's like, you feel it? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, hold on. So we go over to someone else's apartment. We sit down, and these people are just rolling. I mean, rolling. And the next thing you know, it's in rotation. I sat there for an hour and a half. I don't know. And I said, I think it's time to go home. So I get up and I'm walking out, and I light up a cigarette, and I start going up the hill to go back to the apartment, and something happened. Like, the scenery around me just went, you know, oil on water, that rainbow color. Well, that's what the woods started looking like. And I started freaking out. So I ran to my friend Michael's house. I go in, I was like, something's wrong. He's like, what'd you do? I was like, I just smoked weed. He said, you should be fine. I sit down, and as soon as I sit down, I say, oh shit. And I run to the bathroom, and I start puking my fucking brains out. They said that I puked for 2.5, 3 hours before they called the ambulance. They're giving me milk, bread, they don't know what's wrong. I go to the hospital, they run a toxicology report. I had weed and PCP in my system. David had to get called from work to come pick me up. So he picks me up. He doesn't say shit the whole car ride. We get back to the apartment. We're walking up to the 3rd floor. We go into the apartment, and I'm trying to make a beeline to the room, like, and he says, Richard, come smoke a cigarette. I said, oh, fuck. So I step out on the patio with him. He lights up a cigarette, and before I know it, he snatched me up, and he's holding me over the rail. And I'm looking down. I don't know what he's saying. He's screaming. And in that moment, I wished he would just let go. Like, I didn't want to be here anymore. That seemed like a way better option than anything else. My mom found out, and my mom's the coolest person in the world. She's like, baby, don't worry about it. You're a child. Like, this is normal kid stuff. Like, she sent me a care package with gum, some other stuff. Like, and at this time, David had enough. I was working at Zaxby's. My first job was Zaxby's. I loved it. I stayed up there all the time. all the time because it kept me away from that house. During the summertime at 575, I was bringing home $1,000 checks because I was there from open to close. That gave me a social life. It took me away from the hell that I was living in, and I loved it. Towards the end, David had enough of my shit. Like, I'd come home, he'd blame me for being high, fucked up, all this. My brother would come home fucked up out of his mind. He was on acid one time trying to jump out the window like Superman. David's just like, it's okay, he'll be okay. So, he said, pack your shit, get the fuck out. Letitia called the police. They took me to child care services, and they put me in foster care. And thank God for Anthony and his family, because they came and picked me up, and they gave me a place to stay until I was able to move back in with my mom, who was living in Alabama at the time. Went to Alabama, you know, moved from Alabama back to Georgia. I started high school. I finished out high school at Clark Central. The funniest thing about Clark Central, I am forever immortalized in the 2004 yearbook for most spirited. I don't know why. I was only there for 2 years. Well, I know why. But like, I think it's funny. I knew these people. I grew up with them, but I never really was socially active. After I graduated high school, I was like, I'm gonna take time away from school, and I'm gonna go get a job and stuff. So I moved in with my older brother, and you know, I started working, and things were going good. And then my birthday was coming up, and I told Bill that, like, hey, when I get back from this trip I'm going on, like, I'm going back to school. I think that's the right move to make. So when I got back, I called up to find out the work schedule. He said, I gotta let you go. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just trying to, you know, better myself. And my brother was like, pack your shit, get the fuck out. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, so I moved in with my friend Sam, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. 2005, I started working at this camp for kids with disabilities, and I found my purpose in life. Like, I fucking loved it. And I met this amazing kid, Darius. This kid was something else. He was 15 years old, and he had the same disease that his brother had, which was Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. And he saw his fate through his brother's eyes. Kids contract this at a young age. They lose the ability to walk by age 7. They're in a wheelchair by age 10. This kid watched his life happening through his brother. And this kid had the biggest smile on his face. He loved life, and he was just an inspiration to me. And I fell in love with him. And during this time, like, I'm hanging out with, I started, like, after graduating high school is when my social life really blew up. I started hanging out with a lot more kids, a lot more people. One of the group of friends that I had, one of their moms would throw parties and shit, and like, I didn't drink. Like, I was never a big drinker. I would DD for my friends, but I loved to smoke weed, do coke. I loved to do it all. But I just wasn't a drinker. And the next morning, I would always wake up and help her clean the house and shit. And because of that, like, she paid for me to go on a bunch of trips and everything. And we're over there one summer, hanging out with Darius on the patio, chilling, and we, like, MTV Pimp My Ride was really popular at the time. And we had this grand idea that we're gonna get Darius on Pimp My Ride and get his wheelchair pimped. Like, it started off as just like a joke and an idea, and then it started taking off. We started reaching out to people, and like I said, I found my purpose. I was passionate about helping, you know, in the special education community, and I fucking busted my ass off. I mean, I went door to door selling barbecue tickets to raise money. I called in favors at the radio station to put me in touch with people. I went camping. I did everything. Like, I wanted to see this shit come true for them. And the shit blew up. Make-A-Wish Foundation got involved. They gave us a wheelchair-accessible RV. It went from getting his wheelchair pimped on Pimp My Ride to making it a documentary. Show wheelchair accessibility in America. a lot of people started getting involved. Tom Shadyac, LeBron James, Beyonce, a shitload of people. Broken Lizards Club was trying to cut the red tape for MTV, trying to get us in there and pimp my ride. And like, I was so honored to be a part of this project. Like, and I was told that like, we had 2 credits. You were in the VIP credit or you were in the dog pound. And the dog pound, you get paid $10 and get your name in the film credit. That's how we were raising money at one point. And in 2007, the movie came out. The documentary came out. We're at the Cine watching it, and I'm watching it, and I'm seeing scenes that like I was there for what was going on, but I kept getting cut out. That kind of hurt. Like that really hurt. They get to the credits and they start going through, and I'm looking because I'm told that like I'm gonna be in the VIP for everything that I did, and it's not there. And then Dog Pound comes up, and I'm somewhere down there. I can't even remember. And again, like I just felt in that moment, I felt completely and utterly. I don't know. I can't describe the feeling. Like I guess it's not good enough. Like what I did just wasn't good enough. And that night I went out and got drunk. Like I got fucking plastered. I didn't like drinking because every time I drank a couple beers, I'd call Mama from the toilet. Mama, come and pick me up. I don't like this. So I'm putting them away, and next thing you know, like I'm thrown up again, and my friends are like, something's wrong. So they sent me to the hospital, and it turns out I got pancreatitis and everything. And so I'm sitting in the hospital. I'm there for 7 days, and on day 6, David shows up. And David's like, I'm taking you to live with me. We're gonna get your life in order. Like, we're gonna get you straight. I did it for your brother Chris, and I did it for your brother Devin, and we're gonna do it for you. And I said, whatever. I went to go live with them. And those 3 months were hell. Right there at the end, I was working for a hotel company and everything, and right there at the end, I was staying more at the hotel so I could, do my maintenance job and everything. And my stepmom comes in there to clean my room and tells David that she finds a fucking drug bag that's in the room. And the crazy part is that I had just sliced my thumb damn near half off and had to go get drug tested, stitches, all that. And workman's comp, you gotta get drug tested. Pass all the drug tests and everything. I go back. I go to David's house, and all my shit's sitting on the front porch. And he looks at me and he says, I can't do anything for you. You're just gonna be a fuck up for the rest of your life. Go enjoy your drugs. And I said, okay. And so I left, and I moved back to Athens, and moved in with a friend, started working somewhere. And December 12th, 2007, I'm at a party, and this girl walks into the room with her boyfriend at the time, and I was captivated. I mean, I was blown away. I don't know what it was. I told my friend, I said, who's that? He's like, oh, that's so-and-so. That's Courtney. And I said, she'll be mine. He said, good luck with that. I said, no, it ain't no luck, bro. We played this song and danced for about 8 months, back and forth. This isn't a brag, but with everybody questioning my sexuality, people calling me gay, all this stuff. Like I made it a conquest to prove that I was not gay. So women were just a piece of ass. Unfortunately, sorry, but that's the way it was. Like you were just notched on the belt to prove to everybody else that I wasn't what you were saying I was. I didn't know how to have relationships. I kept people at a distance because I didn't want you to know who I was. I was good at that. I moved around a lot. I could blend in, chameleon, but you weren't going to get to know me. You had an experience. I had that experience. We'll talk about it, but you're not going to get to know me. And 8 months we did, back and forth, like all this. And August 21st, we had I asked her to, I was like, will you be my girlfriend? I didn't know how to do it. I never had a girlfriend. Will you be my girlfriend? She's like, oh my God, yes. August 25th was her birthday, and they were celebrating and everything, and she goes, come to the bathroom with me. And I said, okay, cool. It's like, what's going on? It's like, we're gonna, get fucked up. I said, okay. And she pulls out a Roxy, crushes it on the back of the toilet, and I snorted it. I didn't know what I snorted. I snorted it. Threw up a couple times, and after that, I had this overwhelming feeling, as the book describes, as I have arrived. Like, this is that thing I've been searching for my entire life. The mental pain, the mental memories, like I have a memory that I wish I didn't have. Night terrors, like, all this emotional stress, pain, gone. The physical pain, gone. Like everything was gone and I was at peace. And that's truly when my addiction took off. And in less than 2 years, my life went completely bonkers. It started off as, every now and then and stuff, and then it became an everyday thing. Shortly into it, I had some friends that were addicts, and one of them was an IV drug user, and we went to go meet him to go pick up, and when we got back, Courtney was like, I want to do that. And I was like, no, I'm scared of needles. It's like, no, we're not going to do this. She's like, please, I'll hold your hand. I said, okay, sounds like a plan. And we did, and like, oh my God, I didn't love it. Like, oh my God, like you're telling me I can get that peace of mind faster than the other way I was doing it? Like, what? But it was only occasionally and everything. Me and Courtney had a falling out and everything because drugs. I thought I was in love, but I didn't know what love was. I was in love with the idea of being in love, but I think I loved the drugs more than I loved her at that point. And so like we had a big falling out. She was like, drive my car. I'm like, I'm fucked up. She's like, drive my car home. I said, okay. And I bumped the back of a truck because I should not have been driving. And I told her this, I should not be driving. But we get back to our apartment, and there's a like little dent in it. And she flipped the fuck out. And I was like, what the fuck? So I go upstairs, I'm smoking a cigarette, I was like, I'm just gonna let her calm down. Next thing you know, I go to open up the fucking screen door, and it's locked. And I said, what is going on? Like, why the fuck am I locked out? Looked over the balcony, it's like, man, I might Spider-Man this shit. Just get the fuck out of here. Like, but her roommates were sitting there, I'm like, let me in. They're like, no. I'm like, let me in. No. Fucking let me in. I slammed my palms on the glass, and it just went, shh. Just kicked that bitch in. Straight to the bedroom, packed my shit, and got the fuck out of there. Made it to the front of the apartments and caught you back. Fuck. I've only had 3 run-ins with the police until it's like at this time. Like I was not out there really getting in trouble, which was surprising. And I was scared. I was like, man, I'm about to go to jail. Like, what the fuck? They take me back to the apartment and everything, and they're asking what's going on. I told them my side. They told them their side, and he's like, man, just go home. He's like, where do you live? I was like, my mom's right down the street. I can walk. Can I get the fuck out of here? He's like, no. And their roommates were like, no, these are like, we want to press charges. And they're like, well, were you in the dispute? Did it involve you? It's between them. Ma'am, do you want to press charges? No, just let him go home. No, yeah, go home. I was like, oh my God. So I went home, and that breakup I wasn't emotionally ready for it. And I kind of started spiraling more out of control because my addiction had taken off. I go over to a friend's one night to pick up, and I go in, and he's fixing up some rigs and shit. I get my shit. He's like, take this. He hands me a rig and he's like, take this with you. And I was like, but I don't shoot up. He's like, just take it. I was like, okay. I'm leaving and my friend Chris is coming in and shit. And I get home and it's probably like a week later. There's a drought and I cannot find anything. And I remember that I had that rig, so I went and got it. It took me a long time. And as soon as I did it myself and broke that scare, it took off. Like in less than 5 months, I was at a ridiculous amount, using a ridiculous amount. I was all over the place. I borrowed a friend's car one night to go pick up because my car broke down. On the way back, I'm trying to shoot up in the car, and I fucking wreck her car, take it back to her, walk inside, hand her her shit, her keys, and just walk the fuck out. Did that shit. Things are getting out of control. I mean, like out of control. Like I can't. There's nothing I can do to stop it. And then finally, I get arrested. I get arrested for 26 felonies and 3 misdemeanors and shit. You know, I go hard on motherfucker. Hey, dog. And I sat in jail for a while. They were trying to come at me with 40 years. I had 2 conspiracy charges. It was fucking crazy. But that didn't stop my addiction. I made it to trustee. I got in good with some people, and then I started having people come make drops for me. So I'm using this whole time. Jail didn't stop me from getting high. After a long period of time, they offered me drug court. And I was like, what? They're like, drug court. Everybody's in there like, don't do it. I was like, but I want to get out of jail. This sucks. So I did. I got out of jail. It took a day longer than I was supposed to. But my first day out, I walk downtown, I do all the paperwork, figure out what's going on. They're like, well, where's your address? I was like, oh, I'm gonna be living at my parents, you know, over there at Kingswood. They're like, okay. So I get over to Kingswood, and the fucking house is empty. Like, they told the judge in court that I could come stay there, but the house is empty. They gave them that address, house is empty. So I just started walking, I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do. And I run into a friend, and we go over to another buddy of mine, and that night, like I got like even knowing that drug court's like you can't do any of this, and not stop me from being like, well, fuck it, like I have nowhere to go, like I don't know what to do, like I'm not emotionally equipped to deal with this. So how do I deal with that? I get high. And I got introduced to meth that night. I'm like, look, it's just and I report to drug court's first class Saturday, fucked up. And I didn't know what was going on. By Tuesday, I came clean. I was like, look, like I have nowhere to go. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I've gotten high. They're like, well, you didn't fail the drug test. I was like, well, I got high. So they send me to the Hope House, and this is when I get introduced. Like this whole process is when I really get introduced to recovery, AA, NA, all this, sobriety, sober living, all this, and you know, I started doing what drug court told me to do, because it was either do this or go to prison. So I said, let's just do this. Fuck prison, let's just do this. So I did. So I started doing drug court. I got one sanction the whole time I was in there, and it was over the dumbest shit. I quit my job because some girl's boyfriend tried to fight me over I don't know what. I missed 2 counseling appointments that I rescheduled because a friend of mine, a coworker of mine, needed me to cover a shift and everything, and they were like, well, you're just out of control, you're not abiding by our rules, we're sending you to jail for 48 hours. So I went to jail for 48 hours, and I was like, okay, I know what the fuck they want, I know what the fuck I have to do to get through this shit. I got out of there, and I did that. I did exactly what I had to do to get through drug court. I became the poster child for drug court. I was chairing meetings. I was doing everything I was supposed to. I was in there. I was working 4 jobs. I was doing the most. I mean, like every time I went in front of the judge, he was just like, oh my God. But the whole time I'm working steps, I'm chairing meetings, I'm doing all this, nothing's changing inside. I am not being honest and shit. Like, I'm not being thorough with these steps. I'm doing it because I got to get through drug court. That's it. 2014, right before I graduated drug court, I was having some issues, and I thought the issues were drug related and everything. But I was having problems. So I called my dad and I was like, hey, like, this is what's going on. He's like, come to the urologist and we'll figure out what's going on. So I go to the urologist and I get all these tests run, like going through all this stuff and everything. And, you know, they give me the news that, you know, I've got some weird thing. But at the same time, I won't be able to have kids. Because of this condition, and if I wanted to have kids, I'd have to go through fertility clinic, all this other stuff. And in that moment, I thought I had found God, but in that moment, I blamed God. I said, fuck you, God. Like, I've questioned you my entire life, and like, I've started to find hope. Like, I'm thinking these 9-step promises are coming true, and I feel like I'm aligning with you, and the one thing I feel like I can do right in life, because I do not want to raise a child like I was raised. I feel like I could do that, even though I was like, I'm never having kids. Like I felt like I could do that right. And when that option was taken away from me, there was not a moment's hesitation. Graduation day, I was getting fucked up. Like, that's it. In that moment, there was no, you know, they say you relapse before you ever pick up. There was no relapse. I made the choice that day that I was getting fucked up. And I did. I graduated drug court and I got fucked up that night. And my addiction just got worse. Like I said, I was never really a drinker. I became a full-blown alcoholic in less than 6 weeks. I'm drinking every day before work. I'm drinking at work. I'm drinking after work. I'm blacking out. I don't know how I'm getting home. I'm waking up at home with money in my pocket. I don't know what's going on. Probation steps in. They're like, you got to go back to the whole house. And so I do. I'm paying rent at an apartment. I'm paying rent at a sober living. Like, and I'm not stopping. Like, I can still drink and like pass drug tests. So like, drinking is not like, it's out of control. Finally, they're like, you got to go to outpatient. So I go to outpatient. Right about that time, I don't know, like, outpatient didn't work out, and so I went back in front of the judge, and they were like, you're going down the road. So I did. I went to RSAT for 11 months, and like, nothing changed. I got out of RSAT, and I was right back to doing what I was doing. The week after getting out, I met this girl at outpatient. That's how it always goes. Yeah. You know, she was a client support worker, and I was the client. She's so weird. I get arrested on 420, and I'm sitting in Clark County, and they got video visits, and on 421 they're like, Hamill, video visit. I said, who the fuck? Nobody's coming to see me. Like, pick up look at the video, and it's her. And I was like, what the fuck? I thought it was so cool because she started putting money on my books, money on the phone, all this stuff. I'm like, oh snap! Like, this is great. She comes, picks me up when I get out of RSAT and shit, and right back to drinking. She's an alcoholic. So like picked up right where I left off. I got a DUI 6 weeks after getting out of RSAT. Like, nothing's changing. I get evicted from my apartment, and like, nothing's changing. Like, at this point in time, like, I have no will to live. Like, I don't give a fuck. That's just the truth. Like, I didn't care about myself. I didn't care about anybody. I wanted to die. And then, I thought, like, I did this thing where, like, I'm not so bad because I'm not doing my drug of choice. Like, I'm just drinking. It's legal. Like, try to justify it and everything. But shortly later, I'm right back on the needle, doing heroin. I'm doing meth now. Shit's getting out of control. I'm in and out of jail, and in and out of detox, and I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't. And finally, finally 2001, after I got kicked out of We're Living Proof for the second time back in 2021, like I went buck wild. Me and a friend took a friend up to Montana. I don't remember too much of this trip. I just got paid. I just got the stimulus check. There was lots of copious amounts of drugs. I feel like it was like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Like I don't.
No, it really was.
I don't remember that. I remember bits and pieces. I do remember coming into South Dakota to I think Pierre, and it was lit up like Las Vegas. Like oh my god, like this was crazy. But like, I don't know what's going on. I've pushed everybody away. I've burned every bridge. Like I don't know what's going on. And I go to jail for 8 months. And the weirdest thing happened while I was in jail. I got on trustee and they tell me I need to make a phone call. I say, what? And I pick up, I get the number and I'm getting free calling cards. So I call the number and it's my brother and mom. And they're like, we've been so worried about you. Like what's going on? I was like, I don't know. Like just every shot was just a prayer not to wake up the next day. Like just to let this be my last shot, please. Like Taylor said, countless ODs. I got out of jail one time, overdosed 3 times in 1 week, and like I didn't care. I wish I wouldn't wake up. I was at that point. I get out after 8 months in June 6th. I was not expecting to get out. I was expected to go to treatment, rehab, from jail. But I get let out, and I try to white knuckle it for 4 days, and everything. I'm living out in the woods in a tent, and June 10th, early that morning, I was like, I know what to do. I'm gonna go pick up, I'm gonna get high, and I'm gonna go to detox. They'll let me in if I got drugs in my system. And so I did. Went picked up, went straight to Piggly Wiggly bathroom, did a shot, and no, there ain't a spot napkins that I'm not familiar with. Bathrooms, restaurants, everything. But I turned around to open up the stall door, and that's the last thing I remember. I woke up in the back of an ambulance on the way to the hospital, and they Narcaned me, they did all that, and they released me. And I'm walking out of the hospital, and my addict brain was like, we can do half of what we did at Piggly Wiggly, and we'll be okay. We got this. So I did. Like I didn't even make it to the door. I went straight to the bathroom, and woke up on the operating table. Doctor screaming, I don't know what's going on, like no clue. She tells me that I basically died, and they 2013 me, which is they won't release you for drugs and alcohol. They think you're a danger to yourself. So they put me up in a room with a security camera, and every time I tried to get out of bed to go to the bathroom, an alarm went off, and they screamed at me to get my ass back in bed. To me, this was finally rock bottom. When that happened, like I did a first step. Like that's really when I did my first step. The big book says that, we fully conceded to the idea that we were not like other drinkers. You know what I'm saying? That like, we'll never be normal. And that idea that we would had to be smashed. And in that moment, it was. Like, I can't use successfully. I'm powerless. Like, I can't use. Like, I can't pick up. I've tried to do just weed leads back to the needle. I tried to do drinking, leads back. I've tried other things. I've crossed addictions. I've tried it. Like I've done everything. It doesn't work. And it was in that moment I fully conceded to the idea that I can't do this. And I prayed. And when I prayed, my aunt passed away my freshman year, and David refused to let me go to the funeral. And I had this dream. And she was sitting in her favorite recliner, and she's got her Elvis mug, because my aunt loved Elvis. God, she loved Elvis. I love it. And she's in her nightgown or her robe, and she's just looking at me. Richie is gonna be okay. Richie is gonna be okay. Richie is gonna be okay. And when I woke up, I just felt like it was gonna be okay. I went to detox and everything, and they sent me to We Are Living Proof. You know, that's what I knew. I was mandated to a year by the judge to a program, and I was like, that's a good place. You know, I know people up there, like, and if I really do this, like, they're gonna, like, I think they can help me. They're gonna get me jobs, they provide rides. Like, it's just a good environment for me. Like, this is what I need to do. I get there June 24th. That night, I met my sponsor. I was at Easy 123 and he shared, and I loved what he had to say. And that night I was like, will you be my sponsor? And he was like, yeah. And not to my own horn, but I've got the coolest sponsor in the world. Fuck what y'all say about your sponsor. Your sponsor might be cool, but he's not as cool as mine. Like, my sponsor is a shit. You know, I have a sponsor, he's got a sponsor, and this man, like, I love the way this man works the program. And he took me through the steps. And my sponsor was a godsend, because I struggled with the concept of a higher power, God. Like, I felt like God had abandoned me years ago. Like, if there was a God, why would he put me through everything that he put me through? Like, some people just don't deserve that. Like, you're telling me, like, I just didn't want to, like, believe it. And he was an atheist, and he gave me like, you know, everybody says it, but like, he gave me the tools that I needed and spoke to me the way I needed to grasp it. And I did. Step 2 and 3 were mind-blowing to me, because like I did. Like, I took this idea of a higher power, and I made it. You know, like, I've been in search of a family my entire life. I just wanted to feel a part of a family. And so my higher power was a family unit. It was, you know, just the idea of a family, and what a family represented to me in that moment, in my recovery. And you know, I used that, and I used that to go into the 4th step. The 4th step for me was good. My sponsor gave me 2 weeks to do it. He said, you got 2 weeks. I don't want you thinking about this too much. Like, I want you to, like, get in there and put down what you need. And I did. And I did it in 2 weeks, and then I went and did a 5th step. And in my 5th step with my sponsor, like, I'm looking at all this and everything, and like, all this hate, all these resentments, and just everything that I've got written down really isn't anybody's fault but my own. And that was a hard pill to swallow in that moment, but I needed it. All the resentments I had against everybody was because I expected them to be a certain fucking way. Like, I'm mad at you for not being what I want you to be. Like, why? Like, just be you. Like, and I gotta be okay with that. All the people I'd harmed and everything, and like all the bad that I did, like, my 5th step showed me that, like, I'm not as bad as I thought I was, but I'm not as good as I thought I was. I thought I was a great person because I did all these great things, and I was so loving and blah blah blah. I wasn't that good of a person. And it gave me a perspective that I needed. And my sponsor was like, I want you to go home, and I want you to shut everything off, nothing. And I want you to lay there, and I want you to take all this in and just meditate on it. Just take it all in. And so I did, and I felt relief, but I didn't feel absolutely free. So I went on to 6 and 7. You know, we did this, and like, my sponsor took me kayaking down the Chattahoochee River, and it was amazing. And we talked about 6 and 7, and he broke it down in a way that, like, I really needed it, and something that I could use. And that's when I started bringing prayer into my everyday life and everything. For me, it was as simple as the 3rd step prayer from NA, and let me be a better person today than I was yesterday. Just that simple. And that's what I needed at the time, because like when you're working on your character defects, like they show up, you know, so just don't let it happen tomorrow. Let me be better than I was yesterday. And then I go on to 8 and 9, and I make my list of people I owe amends to, and then I went and sat down with my sponsor, and we went over it, and we broke it down into 3 tiers. He said, I want you to start working on tier 1. And when I started doing my amendments, it was totally different, because the first time when I was clean, which was just dry, when I went and did a 9th step, I just went to people and was like, hey, I'm sorry, I was on drugs. Hope you forgive me, I'm not on drugs anymore. Like, we good? We cool? Thank you. Like, it was not a 9th step. This time I did. I called my mom, she wanted to FaceTime, and I FaceTimed with my mom, and like, we talked about everything. And I finally understood the hard choice she had to make that day. She wasn't abandoning me. She thought she was doing the right thing for me. And I can't be mad at her. Like, that's a hard choice to make. And I love my mom. My mom is my fucking superhero. My mom got a divorce with 4 kids and no job, and she went out there and hustled. My dad had surgery and shit and couldn't provide sometimes. My mom went and got a 2nd job. Everything that I am today, I learned from my fucking mom. Like, my mom instilled a lot of great qualities in me, and I love her for that. And she's always been there for me. I sat down with my dad. He was at a convention for church up here, and we went and sat down at Chipotle, and we finally had a heart-to-heart. I expected Terry to be the dad I never had growing up. I wanted him to step in and play role of daddy for me, because I didn't have a father figure, and I wanted him to do that, and he did it. And I didn't understand it. Like I said, like I felt, you know, I'm not good enough. And after sitting down and like really having a conversation with him, I realized like he went through just as much hell in his own home that I did. And he didn't know how to handle that situation. He's got 3 kids of his own and 4 other kids thrown into this, and then he's got a baby on the way. And like things were kind of crazy. He lost his job at somewhere because the plant shut down. You know, and like he thought he was doing what was best. And I didn't understand that in that moment. Until then, we had a heart-to-heart. And that day I was like, you know, I realized that this man has been a dad to me my entire life. I just didn't see it. And I was more, and he told me a story. He was my coach, and we're in the championship game, and it's baseball. And I love baseball because I was a catcher, and I loved it. And it's the final inning. The game is tied, and this dude rounding 3rd, and this guy is 3 times my size. 3 times. I get the ball, and I square the fuck up with him, and was ready to fucking do this. And I took the hit, and I lost the ball. We lost the game. But he said he missed what he saw in that moment with me, because it just dissipated, it left. And he just, the only thing he wants for me in life is to find that again. And then I did you know, 9 steps with my brother and sister, and those were kind of hard because they didn't want to talk about the past. So I wrote them a letter. You know, my sister called me a month later, and she was like, I don't know if I should allow you back into your niece and nephew's life. I've had to tell them for the past 5 years that you're sick. You know, Uncle Richard can't come around because he's sick. And I was sick. You know, my brother kind of said the same thing, but as I started going, you know, they started seeing, you know, like I was serious about this. And so they did. They allowed me to come back into their lives. You know, I made some more amends and stuff, and then I went on to step 10. And step 10, I came here for the first time. And the workshop was on step 4 and 5. And Matt, what was it? Ryan,
Heather and Jason. Yeah.
Jason. No, they did 5. I'm talking about 4. It was the 2. Yeah. Alan, yes. So Alan started the workshop with how free do you want to be? And in that moment I was like, I want to be free. I want to be free. Like, that is all I want. Like, freedom. And then he went on to say, he said, you're only as sick as the secrets you keep. And I realized why I did not feel that relief and sense of freedom in my 4th and 5th step. It's because I was holding on to something that I did not want to fucking let go. I didn't. And when I got back, I called my sponsor immediately. He came over and I did a 10th step and we did a 5th step. And I was scared. Like I didn't know like how to bring this up, like how to talk about it. But I did, and this is why I say my sponsor was a godsend, because he'd been through a similar situation. And he was able to walk me through this whole thing and find forgiveness and find a release. When that finally happened and like I let go of all that, there's a David Foster Wallace quote that I love. Everything I ever held on to, or everything I ever let go of, has claw marks on it. And I thought everything I'd been through in my past was the defining things of who I was. I held on to so much. I thought anger drove me to be a better person. I thought all these things, and when I finally let go of all of it, I had been holding on to it so tight that when I finally let go, like it's punctured. It was like, and then I went on and did a 11th and 12th step. And December, I was set to graduate my program. And I'm riding in the car and I'm going through my wallet. I don't know what made me decide to clean my wallet that day, but I did. And I found the rest of the fentanyl in my wallet that I had the day I went to the hospital. And I handed it to the person driving and told him to throw it out the fucking window. Went on to graduation and everything. And then 2023 rolled around. And I did not expect what 2023 had in store for me. I lost my friend Warren. He overdosed. Shortly after that, one of my really good friends, Greg, I came home from work to find him laid out, and he was gone. And the drugs were on the nightstand, and it sucked. Shortly after that, a girl that I'd been talking to broke up with me. She ran off with for a person I considered a friend in the program. And I was going through a lot of emotions in that moment. During that first, during January, I just celebrated my birthday with all this bad news. She broke up with me on my birthday to run off with my friend. What a bitch. Not good enough,
Yeah.
But January was really hard, and like I leaned into the program. I really leaned into it. People on my campus that I considered friends, my sponsor, other people, and I got through it. And March came around, and I was so excited about March. Like, fucking unity. We're going back to unity. I need this. There's just so much going on in my life. Like, I need this. And I came up here, and that weekend it was spirituality. And I really needed that at that moment in time. Like, everything every time I've gone to a retreat, I've been to a lot. I'm a retreat whore, junkie, whatever. Like, retreats to me, like being from sober living, is where I see the meat and potatoes of recovery. The sobriety in those rooms, the shares in those rooms, everything. I fucking love it. And every time I'm there, like I grow spiritually. And that weekend, something happened. And like, I finally realized, like, God, like, higher power, God, like, I saw him and felt him that whole weekend. And when I left, I went on a retreat with my sponsor and everything. And when I got back, I was in the process of putting in 2 weeks notice. I was coming up on a year clean, and I was like, what do I need to do for my recovery? Second shift is not good enough. Like, wake up, go to a meeting, go to work, come home, sleep, wake up, go to a meeting, go to work. It wasn't enough. Like, how do I get more involved with with recovery? So I started looking for a first shift job and everything. And when I got back from the retreat with my sponsor, my job was like, we're just gonna let you go. And I was like, okay, like, why? Like, I'm not done with my 2 weeks. Like, let me finish these 2 weeks, please. But it worked out. I turned it all over to God, and I had the job in 3 days, and everything. And like, I made it through it, and you know, like, God started showing up in my life in like so many different ways and everything. And you know, I came up on a year clean, and a couple weeks later, like, my family, all my family, my sponsor, and some friends, we went to Stone Mountain to celebrate that. And like, it was something awesome for me, because like, I don't know, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. That I gotta do this with my family sober. My brother actually sent me he sent me something the day of my 1 year, and I took the frame that we got from spring, and I had it printed off, and I put my 1 year medallion in it, because it just means the world to me. Oh, sorry y'all, I should have this pulled up. It's like it's not always the big steps that it is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. And that really like, it really stuck with me and everything. And things were going good, and then about the end of September, I started a new job. Just life was happening. I get home one day, and my guest services pulls me off to the side, and he's like, "Hey, is there any reason you failed a drug test?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I don't know, something's going on." I said, "Well, I ain't got shit to worry about." He said, "Okay." Saturday came, and they called me to the office, and they proceeded to tell me that I failed a drug test for alcohol. And I was like, no, like, I've not picked up, like, I've not used. And I was upset, and I was hurt. Some things had gone on that I thought might work out, but they didn't. But everything that had gone on wasn't enough to have me pick up and drink. I have a choice today, and I choose not to do that. Like, I'll take the hurt, the pain, everything, but I won't pick up. I had a lot of people come out the woodworks, and like, I felt a support in my community that, like, I loved. They were like, bullshit. Like, this man lives, breathes, and dies recovery. Like, you can't be around Richard and recovery not be brought up, like, ever. I called my mom, let her know what was going on, and in that moment, after I got off the phone with them, I cried. I told my mom what was going on, and my mom and dad said, "I don't give a fuck if they said you fell for opiates. I would call them some liars." And to hear my parents say that meant the world to me. My sponsor, me and my sponsor talked about it. I've always lied to my parents, always. But in this moment, like, I was telling the truth. And I questioned myself if they would believe me, because my track record has shown that I'm not a trustworthy person, that I get over on people. And I really put that to the test and everything, and it worked out great. I didn't understand what was going on. They discharged me for 5 days. I went back home. I didn't know what was going on. I went to a Rare Breed concert the Sunday before all that happened. That's when they're trying to claim I drank at a Christian concert, at a church, put on by Good Landing. There's alcohol. No. Yeah. Good try. Good try. The excuses and everything they came up with, I laughed at. I played the song, Just Don't Understand, and it got me through the week. I prayed, I meditated. I was angry and hurt at first, and I was like, fuck this program, I'm gonna go find another one. Like, I did all that shit, but I didn't do like I usually do. Well, if they're blaming me, accusing me of doing it, I'm gonna go do it. Like, that's how much I've changed. Like, the old me, if drug court would have been like, you failed for this, I didn't. Like, well, if you're gonna accuse me of it, then I might as well go do it. Like, I'm gonna hurt you. Like, I'm gonna hurt myself. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just me. Like, you accuse me of something, like, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna react sometimes, and not in the best way. But I think that whole weekend happened that whole time happened for a reason. I had a friend earlier reach out to me and said he needed help. He needed to get somewhere and everything, and I told him about where I was at. And the weekend I was discharged, he'd just gotten out of jail, and he didn't have a way up there, and I was headed that way. So I brought him up here, and everything, and he's doing great, like, so far. He's one of a few people that I try to help out, like, do like the Fifth Step says, and carry this message and everything. I've tried to help a lot of people, but like, but that week showed me that, like, maybe I'm doing too much sometimes. I need to fall back, and I need to focus on me. Yes, this program has taught me to give back what was so freely given to me. But like me and Chris were talking about earlier, sometimes I can do that too much because I like people please. I think it's coming from a good place. I really do, like, I'm giving back, like, I'm doing good. But sometimes, like, giving back might just be boosting my ego, like, telling me, like, hey, validation, like, but it gave me an opportunity to look at everything, and like, maybe I'm not as far as I wish to be, but I'm light years away from where I was.
Amen.
Like, I really am. If y'all would have known me on the streets and everything, like, the person you see today, you'd be amazed. Like, my family, they say the same thing. Like, they never thought this would happen. A lot of them, like, I scared my mom so many times and everything. She was always terrified that she was going to get that phone call that, hey, you got to come pick your son up. He's in the morgue. It's just the way I lived. Recovery means everything to me because it's given me a life that I never expected or thought that I ever wanted. I really didn't. I've met some amazing people, and I've had some amazing experiences and everything. I might not be financially the best, but like, what I've spent my money on financially is priceless. My nieces and nephews, being a part of their life, everything. Thursday, before I came up here, I called my nephew. He's like, I want a Star Wars tapestry. I was like, I love you. I'm such a nerd. Like, yes. I'm like, oh, I love you. So I FaceTimed him, and like, he opened his present, and he fucking like ecstatic, like he's jumping up and down. Yes. Like, those are priceless to me. Like, just to be able to show up. Like, I was never that person. Family get-togethers, fuck that. Like, I don't want to go over there and listen to all y'all, like, blah, 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 and be like, well, what are you doing with your life? Get high. Like, I'm here to go get high. Like, leave me alone. I was never present at all, like, in any aspect of my life, even with friends and everything. And to be there today it's amazing. And I love it. And like, I owe everything to this. Like, I know people are like, I don't let people know that I'm there. Like, I do. I I'll shout it from the rooftop, like, motherfucker, I'm in recovery. Like, if you knew the person I used to be and who I am today, like, you'd be praising recovery too. Like I said, I love it. Like, I love this, and I gotta be more grateful. Thank y'all for letting me share.
Woo!